Well, we left Exmouth this morning around 9 o'clock, and we had a few hours of quite a pleasant sail, but now the wind has died really well away, so we're motoring. It was a southwest wind and we're heading northeast, so quite good direction, downwind. And now we're approaching Long Island, or Serrurier, as it was originally named, called Long Island by the locals. Very, very low. Very low island. With some nice beaches. So we're going to go around the far side, just to avoid the bit of southwest swell that there is at the moment. And then it's likely that tomorrow we'll have to come round to the anchorage on this side, on the west side, because the swell and the wind will have gone round to the southeast. Good 15 knot east wind, and predicted, in fact, forecast to go round to the northeast, and that prevents me from moving on to the north. So I'm going to have to move around to the southwest bay on this island for protection from the swell as well. Well, that was the general idea. I went to raise the anchor and managed to jam the chain in the windlass, and so I ended up going around the far side and was able to get help from the motor yacht Anya, which was really kind of them to help me out there. Well, I finally got the dinghy lowered and sorted out today with everything that was needed, the oars, anchor and chain, and radio and so on. Went for a little trip around the anchorage here and ended up on the motor vessel Anya, and had a very nice visit there, and it was very kind of them to give me this crayfish for my meal tonight. So I'm about to butterfly it and have it with garlic butter. That was the recommendation, and that sounds really lovely. So many thanks to Anya, very kind of to give me my meal for tonight. Very pleasant, lovely visit with them. The sun has just set, it's just gone 10 to 6, and we are anchored off Barrow Island, which we came to, of course, from Long Island. A motoring trip again, unfortunately. The sound of the surf on the shore there, and always being heard, and the lovely colouring that you get after sunset. It's a very large island, very long, but quite wide, and this side of the island, on the west side, is mostly a sanctuary or marine park. A lot of it very protected, turtle laying beaches along here, which are very much protected. But on the other side, Chevron, Australia, has its headquarters here for a gas terminal. They're getting gas, and there are quite big ships waiting to be loaded up that we passed on the way up here. On land as well, there's a lot of protection for many species of animals which are needing protection, because some of them are no longer exist on the mainland, but they're doing well here. So that's a very important aspect of Barrow Island. We're in about 11 meters here, and there is a reef over to astern of us, actually, to our west. We're due east of the reef in 11 meters, and it's nearing high water. We've got 1.9 meters of tide, so which is basically 9 meters above chart datum. Sunrise at 5 to 7 as we leave the island, the Barrow Island, and cross over towards the Montebello Islands. Coming into high water, which is the time to move about the very shallow area of the Montebellos, otherwise known locally as the Montes. As I headed north, I could see quite clearly one of the natural gas platforms for extracting the natural gas from below the sea, and the pipelines were leading back to the Barrow Island headquarters. And here you can see the route through the shallows of the Montebellos. Welcome to the Montebellos. We're anchored in a pretty protected little spot, surrounded by small islands. Very low-lying islands. We're in 6 meters was the depth when I dropped the chain, and we're in about just under 5 meters now. We're still not too far from high water, so we've still got a drop of about 1 meter, but that's fine. As you can see in the entrance that we came in there, there's the swell that was following us. The southerly swell is being stopped at the entrance there. We're rocking very slightly, but not very much. Just gone 9:30 in the morning. I have to get up pretty early to get the high water coming through safely. And I don't think I saw anything below 4 meters, and that's with a 2 meter tide. So I think we'll be fine. Time for coffee, I think, to relax and enjoy just being here. Lovely sunshine. Sunset over the Montebellos. Calm, peaceful, really very, very nice. As usual, the wind has died down in the afternoon, and it'll probably get up quite strongly again in the morning from the east. That seems to be the pattern. Beautifully calm at the moment. Looking over towards Hermite Island. Birds calling as they settle for the night. The end of a very peaceful day. Coming up the west side of the Montebello Islands in deep water to get around. We're actually roughly looking at where we were anchored over the last couple of days, inside the island there. And we're coming up to the north, and then we have to go around the north to come back down inside in safe water. I have to make sure with a 2.2 meter draft, unlike the catamarans which often have half a meter, they can go over shallow water. I can't take the risk, so I'm having to come around the other side. Bit of a long journey, a few hours, but it'll be fine. We'll get to main beach soon enough. High water now. Well, it's coming up to 11:30 now, 2 hours after we started pretty well, and we're about to turn around the top end of the the Montebellos. It's quite a large area of shallows and reef around the top end, so we're taking it very wide. Come around the north end, and then we'll come down through past Keanti Island into a channel, giving access into the inside of the island at the main beach. Beautiful day, long slow swell from the southwest, very long, very slow, maybe 2 meters, but so far apart you hardly notice them. Slight rocking of the boat, and a beautiful sunny day, not a cloud to be seen. In fact, talking about which, I was just thinking, I don't think there are any trees on the Montebello Islands. They get swept by the cyclones regularly, of course, and I haven't seen a tree yet. I'm waiting to see if there is one somewhere. I'm not sure whether it's relevant or not, but of course the Montebellos were the site of 3 atomic blasts when the British had nuclear test explosions here in the 1950s. So whether that's relevant to the lack of trees, I don't know. But coming along the north of the Montebello Islands, there's clearly a lot of surf breaking on the beach, Northwest Island. And we had to keep well offshore to stay in deep water and keep away from those reefs. We're in about 30 meters of water still, with quite a bit of shadows on the north side. It's quite a big island. There's a lighthouse on Northwest Island. Ahead of us is Serrurier Island, but we're actually going to go through the gap between it and the Northwest Island. The gap is over there, so we'll be turning around shortly and go close to Keanti Island, which is between the two. The ebb is lessening now, so we're not being slowed down quite so much. And we should actually have some current with us as we go through the pass, which will be nice. Heading towards the North Passage now, on the east end of Northwest Island, and the passage is ahead there. Down to 10 meters depth now from 30, and it will go probably down a bit more. It's dramatic seeing Keanti Island on the east side of the North Channel, North Passage into the Montebellos. I think we passed the shadow patch. I saw just under 6 meters, which is great. Looking back, we can see Northwest Island astern of us that we had to come around through to get down to the North Channel. Keanti Island, pretty dramatic. And Serrurier Island behind, over to the east. Gladstone Beach, Gladstone Point, at the north end of Serrurier Island, and I did see our depth go right down to nearly 3 meters, maybe just under 4. So it is a pretty shallow channel, but it is totally doable, and we are just coming off high water now. Glorious day as we come down Serrurier Island. It's this big island, which is obviously quite hilly, was so very different from the previous anchorage where I'd been surrounded by very low little islets. There is Louis William Lagoon. What a grand name. It's pretty shallow. It's looking very different from where we were anchored this morning. Much hillier. Looking ahead to where we're thinking of anchoring, I'm being told I've got 1.7 meters of tide and we've got 2.2 meters draft, so I clearly don't want to anchor in anything that's under 4 meters deep, or I'll be aground at low water. Pretty dramatic scenery. There's a lot of rocky headlands. Well, we're anchored off the main beach on Serrurier Island. The depth suddenly dropped quite quickly from 5 meters to 4 something. So I quickly backed away and found a 6 meter patch. In fact, now we're in just over 7 meters. Good sand down here. Lovely colour. Of course, with the sun being so very, very bright, I had to rig up a little bit of sunshade. This lovely cloth that I got in Tahiti. It's pretty windy from the east, 16 knots up to 20 knots, and we're leaving Main Beach in order to go around to Keanti. With the wind being so strong, we've got quite a bit of wave chop. Not a lot, but enough to make us pitch frequently. Well, that was a pretty stressful entrance into Keanti Bay from passing between Jonquil Island in the distance there and Man on the Rock islet. Very, very narrow gap between them. So you really have to keep, well, I was told to keep close to Jonquil, but to be honest, just staying in the middle was quite difficult as we came through. And then to my dismay, I realised that as I came down this way to anchor, I mean we're happily at anchor now, but as I came down this way with 2.7 meters of tide depth, I saw 3.9 meters come up on the depth display, implying that it was actually 1.2 meters chart datum, and with our draft is 2.2 meters. So at low water we would have been aground. Anyway, they always say that you've got to move around at high water in these in the Montebellos, and certainly that was shown today. Anchor's down, I'm about to relax. Oh yeah, coming across that shadow patch on the way down to the anchorage was totally unexpected, and I'll have to be careful of that when I leave here. We've got 19 knots of easterly east-southeast wind, but we're happily on anchor now. Beautiful sky, no cloud to be seen. Looking on shore, I spotted a white board with a clear warning about radiation hazards, presumably from the British test nuclear explosions in the 50s. Clearly around low water now. The wind has died down a bit. It's still coming from the east, but it's down to around 11 or 12 knots now instead of the 20 that we were getting earlier. So a lot calmer. Thanks to Google Earth, we can see precisely where the sandbar is. It stretches across this bay, and that I discovered on my way in, being unaware that it existed. So that was quite a lesson learned there. I'm now regularly looking at Google Earth for places that I'm intending to go to. Here we can see the very distinctive mushroom rock, which I passed on the way up to Keanti Bay and back down again. And more of the typically low-lying, flat, but well undercut by sea action, little islets all around as you travel around in the Montebello Islands. We've just come around from Keanti Bay to near Main Beach, just south of Main Beach actually. It's actually called Cocoa Beach. Safely at anchor, but in winds gusting up to 20 knots. I had to get out of Keanti at high water in order to get over the shoal patches, of which there were several. So I'm about to finally have the coffee that I made before I started, about a couple of hours ago, warm it up again. And I'm going to stay here for a bit and then take off tonight. It's a good easy passage out of here, no problems, to get down to Dampier during a time when the wind will have dropped completely. there's no way that I can sail against an east wind to Dampier because it's east-southeast of here, and so I'm going to have to motor and get fuel and maybe get some provisions as well. So it was again a bit stressful going between Jonquil Island and Man on the Rock Islet. I had to get so close to them to get through the narrow passage. Anyway, so now I'm going to relax. I'll get a bit of sleep this afternoon, ready for an overnight passage into Dampier tomorrow. Well, I've just come down to have my coffee. It wasn't completely cold, and I forgot to mention that as I was leaving, getting the anchor up to leave Keanti Bay to come here, it got jammed as it came up. It had swiveled around, and I tried to straighten it and brought it up thinking it would be okay, but it wasn't, and it got rather jammed quite badly in the bow roller, so I hurriedly had to deal with that. Luckily I was able to get it sorted out fairly quickly. I had my doubts. I got a hammer up there, but in fact I really didn't need the hammer as it turned out. Anyway, so that was a bit of a mini crisis that I had to sort out on our way here. And it's, as usual, a pretty sunny day, not a single cloud in the sky, and that's been the case for the last few days while I've been here in the Montebello Islands. The wind generator, as you can see, is going mad with the wind. We've got 16 knots at the moment. It's been gusting up to 20 from the east, and this is quite a normal pattern of events. Every morning the wind gets up very strongly at the moment. I mean, for several days now. I had to leave the Keanti Bay at high water, and so I waited until I had 2 meters or just over. 9:30 in the morning was what the predictions were telling me. So I left at 9:30 in the morning with 2 meters on a rising tide. So I was getting more water as I came along. And even so, I did see it drop down. The depth showed 3.9, I think it actually went down to 3.5 at one point as I came out of the bay. I tried going a deeper way round, which to an extent worked, but as usual it was so stressful coming between Jonquil Island and Man on the Rock Islet, which is so shallow and so narrow. I mean, I could almost touch the rocks as we came by Jonquil Island. Anyway, and then after that, again, I had to really be careful to stay in the deepest water I could find on the way around here. But fortunately, I had my track from coming in the other way the other day, so I was able to use that. And then I'll be relaxing and going overnight the wind will have died down around sunset. It dies down completely, goes down to almost nothing, so I'll be motoring overnight, trying to get to Dampier before the wind gets up too strongly in the morning again against me. So that's the plan at the moment. I've been spending several days of passage planning, very detailed passage planning of my the remainder of my circumnavigation of Australia. Original coming into the country to Bundaberg was actually in November 2 years ago, 24. So my circumnavigation in effect started there, and I've been down to Tassie a few times, Tasmania a few times, seen a lot of the east coast, a lot of Tasmania, which is wonderful. Came back up the east coast over to New Caledonia, back into Southport, back down to Tasmania, and then around. So a bit of a twiddly circumnavigation initially, but then across the Bight, around Cape Lewin, up to Fremantle, stopped there for repairs and work on the boat, and now here, and on now around up to the Kimberley, up to Darwin, around to Cape York, and down to Bundaberg is the plan by November when cyclone season starts up. So I need to be safe for that. That's my plan at the moment, circumnavigate Australia and see the Kimberley on the way and all these other marvellous places that I'm stopping at. It's been pretty wonderful, and I've come across so many fantastic people that have been so friendly and helpful, and it's just been absolutely a wonderful trip.